So we'd like to take this opportunity to express our gratitude to each and every one of you for having created that time to come and join us. We don't take that for granted. So I'd like to call upon Deacon Ken Lanyo kuja kutuombea, tutashukuru sana. Si ni vyema tukianza kikao na maombi, si ndio?
Thank you. Let's pray. Almighty God, we come before your presence this morning with thanksgiving in our hearts that, oh Lord, you've granted us the gift of a new day and the gift of well-being, oh God. Lord, there are better people with better plans that for whatever reason, Lord, they were not able to see this day. But, oh Father, here we are. And so, God, as we get into the business of the day, as we deliberate, as we engage,
to read my welcome remarks so that we can be able to see what have we been able to do. As it has been said by the MC, coming up with the document, the first page where you do not have any sentences, it's actually the hardest. But being able to have a team that came and prepared this document, number one is to commend that team for the good work I believe they've done that you'll be able to appreciate. So it is with great pleasure that I extend a warm welcome to each one of you on this crucial session for National Youth Council. Today, we come together to review the strategic plan for the financial year 2023-2024 to 2027-2028. And your presence underscores the significance of our shared commitment to empowering the youth of this country. Today also marks a pivotal moment in our journey to shape the destiny of the youth of this country. As we convene here to validate our strategic plan, we are not merely scrutinizing a document, but we are also pledging to ensure that every young person in our nation has an opportunity to flourish and to prosper. So our dear stakeholders, your input is very critical today. Please criticize, objectively criticize our document, add value to the document because you're in the same space in order to be able to shape the document. Your input will play a pivotal role in shaping our vision, our goal, our key results areas, and today, we seek your validation and input to ensure that our strategic direction resonates with the diverse needs and aspirations of the youth. So during this validation today for our strategic plan, our primary objective is to take you through our vision. What is our vision now, or what do we push for going forward? What will be our vision as National Youth Council? What will be our mission? There's a bit of rebranding We are used to Sauti ya Vijana. What are we suggesting we move on with? When we look at the key result areas, which will be taken through, we'll be looking at what are the programs we are looking at anchoring over there. And they require your input to tell us, are we heading to the right direction or not? So our highlighted key result areas, we have 4 of them, and that is regulation and coordination of the youth sector. We are looking at youth association, representation, and participation. And in our KRA number 3, we are looking at safe youth space. And finally, in our KRA number 4, we are looking at institution capacity and operation efficiency. So those 4 key result areas are very important. As the technical officer comes and presents, please ensure that you're able to look at it and give your input. So as we delve into the details of our strategic plan, and in the spirit of collaboration and partnership, I urge all of us to approach this session with a very open mind and a critical perspective. Your feedback will be highly appreciated to ensure that we refine our strategic plan to serve the youth of this country. Once again, I want to take this opportunity to appreciate each and every institution that is represented here. You've taken your time to come and be part of this journey, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate the input that you're going to put into this document. Our youth are actually looking up to us. There are several of them in this room, and even you don't shy away. Usiseme hii niliambiwa tu nikuje sijui. This is a platform that we learn, and we are able to actually add value to the document that will guide what you do when it comes to the youth and youth activity. Asanteni sana, and we look forward to a very fruitful engagement from all of us. Asante.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Madam, will you introduce? Unajua tunaweza kuwa tuko hapa na kumbe watu wajue ni nani.
Allow me. I should have started this way.
Yes.
My name is Margaret Kiogora, and I'm the acting CEO of National Youth Council. A National Youth Council is an agency under the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy, and Sports. And our business is youth. We go by the slogan, Sauti ya Vijana, but today we will be able to tell you what we are proposing to move forward as our slogan. Apart from that, I know our ministry is here, and they'll be given an opportunity to just introduce themselves and appreciate the process. Asante.
Pigeni makofi. Asante. So sio penye ameketi, kuna supporters wake hapo, which is important for all of you to also know who they are. Sindio? So we can start from that end.
Good morning. Can you see me, Ama? I should stand up. I'm short. So my name is Triza Wambui from MSEA. MSEA is the Micro and Small Enterprises Authority, and I'm here today on behalf of our CEO, our very able CEO, Mr. Henry Ritha. So I'm looking forward to a very interactive session because one of the people that we serve at our institution are the youth. We are trying to mainstream the youth in all government agendas. So I'm very happy and honored to be here today. I'm looking forward to interacting with all of you.
Good morning. My name is Kilunda Ndoto from the Female Genital Mutilation Board, a state corporation under the State Department of Gender, under the Ministry of Gender, Culture, Social Services, and Heritage. I am here to represent the board during this National Youth Council Strategic Plan meeting. Our board, I think, is one of the few which have achieved the gender parity. There is almost the same number of women and men in that board, and our CEO is Madam Bernadette Lobojo. And I'm looking forward to a very successful interaction with you and thank you.
Madam CEO and the stakeholders, good morning. I think looking around, I realize I'm the oldest. And technically, I become the minority, meaning the interests of the youth. Because looking around, you realize that in terms of demographics, if you look at the segment of the population, the youth happen to be the majority as well. The youth are about almost a third of the population, meaning that their voice is very important. The role you play in national development is very, very important. So important that your voice should not be ignored. And we are saying that it is not just a voice to be heard. You need to also ensure that you participate in decision making at all levels, you know, both in political decision making, economic decision making, because of the role you play, again, in national development, in national cohesion, and that is why the government treats this voice as very, very important. I hope you are aware that with the advances in advances in health, in improved health facilities in this country, we've reduced infant mortality to a level that we have more people surviving at that level. This is why we now have many youth in the country, a situation we are calling the youth bulge. So this is a dividend to the country. And this dividend cannot just go like that. We have that voice, so that decisions that are made are not made for other people. Decisions that are made are also made with your input. Where there is a law being made, where there is a decision that affects, that charts political direction of this country, your voice should also be heard there. And you cannot be heard if you do not have a strategy that we've just come to validate today. And as the CEO has said, that we really need that input from you so that we can have a document that will really guide how you operate and how we, all of us, operate. Remember, as we continue aging, we lose the innovativeness, we lose the energy, and we rely, and the countries rely very much on the youth, the strength of the youth. You've heard of countries that are aging, Italy aging, Sweden aging, and those are countries that may require to import labor, to import skills, but for us, we are lucky we have you as a dividend. So let us utilize this dividend in the right way that will strengthen or will empower the youth, and will also help this country grow, grow economically, politically, and make in a sustainable way. Creating jobs for yourselves. Nowadays, we create jobs for those who are more innovative. And not youth stage that is temporary. Even the Bible tells us that utumie ujana vizuri, si ndio? Ujana is something that is temporary. So utilize it well so that when you get there, when you grow, when you become a senior citizen, you don't regret for having wasted your time. So this strategy has come in at the right time. And I think this is the second strategy that NYC is coming up with. It's a strategy that I think we are also building up on what you had in the past strategy that ended, I think it ended last year. So you are building on what you had on the first strategy, perhaps also offsetting the weaknesses of the first strategy, so that this one becomes it becomes a better strategy that incorporates the realities of the times. Times keep on changing. You hearing the technology changing, the AI, not artificial insemination, we are doing artificial intelligence. So we are changing. Every year we are changing. So this strategy should also capture those realities. Realities, the social the social fabric is also changing very fast. So let us also have all these things in mind so that the strategy that we have is a strategy that will outlive, a strategy for the future, a strategy that will address issues of the youth in this country. So I don't think I have much. I'm just looking forward to that engagement so that all of us can have a good strategy. Remember, this is not a strategy for you youth alone. It is also for all of us. You succeed, we also succeed. And as we are there just to give some guidance, but in terms of the actual doing, you have the energy. You have the innovative mind, the creative mind. You have more. If you are to die naturally, you have more years than myself, isn't it? But I don't want to think that way for now. But if you are to die naturally, assuming all of us were to live for 100 years, I'm perhaps closer to the 100 years than yourselves, isn't it? So you need to really have a strategy that will cater for that. And as you look at this strategy, don't look at yourself. Look at that youth also who is not in this room today. Look at that youth living in the urban area. Look at that youth who has not been to school. That youth who has also been in school but is somewhere. Look at that youth who is frustrated. Look at that youth who is sick mentally or wherever, so that we can have a strategy that is all-encompassing. So I think with those few remarks, asanteni sana na tuwe na wakati mwema sisi wote. Asante.
Thank you so much, Daktari, for setting the pace for us. Amesema mambo mazuri sana. Hata ametusetia pace, which means now, Daktari, you even saved me time. I will not have to set the pace for this session. Juu Daktari amesema, si ameongea? Na ameongea vizuri, si ndio? Kwani mnakaa mmeboeka jamani? Chai, amjakunywa chai ama ni baridi? Mko sawa? Sawa. So thank you so much for your remarks. Kindly, we'd like to ask you to step down to this other side so that we can have the session kick off. So we are going to our next session, but before that, I'd like to recognize some institutions that have just come in terms of representation. I can see there is NGAF, I can see there is Horn of Africa, I can see there is Kipra, there is USPAC, Oslo Center. Karibuni sana. And once again, we are grateful for your presence, each and every one of you. So allow me to welcome Chebet for the next session, which is going to be giving us the highlights of our strategic plan. And this is the point where we'd like to request each and every one of you, mukwe makini, musikize, because after checking what she's going to present on, we'll have our next session, which will be on plenary. And on plenary, this is where you give your feedback with regard to what will have been presented. Sindio? Madam CEO has mentioned that kutakuwa na changes kidogo, inaweza kuwa now our tagline has changed, the mission, the vision, the core values, all the strategic direction. It could have changed in one way or another. So, Chebet, this is your time to take us through in terms of the highlights. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Saseni. We are glad that all of you are here today to be able to contribute I'm glad. Okay, I don't think I'll be able to use this because I'm doing a presentation. So asanteni sana kwa kukuja. We are glad that you are all here. Today, this activity is very important to us because we have come up with a draft strategic plan. And from this stage, we are going to move onward to another stage where now we will not be calling this a draft strategic plan because it will be comprising of your input. And therefore it means out of this session, we are going to be able to move to the next session. So my name is Caroline Chebet. I'm the strategist and planner in the National Youth Council. I've been a coordinator in this process of coming up with this document. So I can see we are almost breaking 40. So I'm going to spend very minimal time to present this document to you. I know we had already shared on our social media platforms, we had already shared on your emails, and therefore I expect that we've probably created time to be able to go through the document, and therefore will not be able to go through the entire document. Our document comprises of a 140-page document. So we will do a highlight specifically on areas that we would want you to be aware of. I would want to tell you guys that this strategic plan is not meant for the Secretariat. The Secretariat are those who work at the National Youth Council to implement programs and activities, but it is meant for the youth. So we call upon you to be able to assist us so that this document actually communicates to the youth and it does not communicate to the Secretariat. The Secretariat should be able to implement what really resonates with our youth outside there. We are glad that you're here, and I hope that you'll be able to enjoy the presentation. So this strategic plan is for the period 2023-2024 to 2027-2028. Remember, in government, we talk of a financial year, and a financial year runs from July 1st to 30th June. So 2023-2024, we are already in it, which means we are already implementing this strategic plan. It is a 5-year strategic plan, which maybe we should be able to review it midway. Next slide. So the outline of this presentation, we are going to see the introduction, we are going to see the rationale, the strategic direction, the strategic issues and goals, then we look at the strategic objectives and the strategies. So that will be able to inform us on exactly where we should be able to give our input. Just an introduction, as we may be aware, and as we've been informed by a representative from the State Department, the National Youth Council came into being through an enactment of an NYC Act of 2009. And before that, it was recognized through the youth policy of 2007 that it was necessary to give youth a platform to be able to voice out their youth, to be able to advocate for better opportunities for fellow youth, and for even a representation in terms of leadership and in terms of decision making. So NYC's mandate is to amplify the youth voice and to advocate for youth opportunities to associate, be represented, and to participate in all spheres. Remember, our Constitution of Kenya, Article 55, Part B, clearly stipulates that there is need for the state to have affirmative action that gives an opportunity for the youth to be able to associate, to be able to represent, to be represented, and to also be able to participate. So the National Youth Council is that institution that should be able to see the implementation of that article of the Constitution. So we have a number of functions that have been stipulated in the NYC Act, around 16 of them. And key among them to mention, if you would want to see the 14 functions, you will look at our Act through our website. But just to mention, the National Youth Council is mandated to be that voice of the youth, to create a link so that we can be able to inform the government and even other policymakers. The National Youth Council is also required to promote partnerships and collaborations, and to also create resources for youth so that we can be able to benefit the entire youth, the youth in the country, and they're able to benefit in a collaborative way. The National Youth Council also is mandated to be able to promote youth inclusion in decision making. All the decisions that are made either in private or in public, then the National Youth Council should be able to push to ensure that the voice of the youth is not left out. If there's a policy that is being made, it is the work of the National Youth Council to mobilize our voices and to be able to present our voices so that we are not left behind. So there are many other functions, that's just to mention but a few. Next slide, please. So the rationale of the strategic plan. The strategic plan has been developed in cognizance of national development priorities, regional and international frameworks. Just to mention, we have recognized the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the African Union Agenda 2063, the East African Community Vision 2050, the Constitution of Kenya, the Kenya Vision 2030, the Beta Plan, and MTP4, and the sector policies and laws. So in this strategic plan, we have set the strategic direction. And this is where now we should be able to see the organization in the long run. And our slogan, remember, for the many years with the retired strategic plan, our slogan has been NYC, NYC. But now, with the team and the stakeholders that were developing this strategic plan, then we said, is NYC really Sauti ya Vijana? Or do we want to do more with the Sauti ya Vijana? And therefore we are saying our new slogan during this plan is that it is amplifying the voice of the youth. The voice of you already have that voice. So what the National Youth Council wants to do is to amplify that voice and to enable it to be heard even clearly by amplifying it. So we've come up with a vision statement, and our vision statement is a vibrant institution advocating for youth representation, participation, association, and development. And the mission statement is to advocate for youth-centric policies and legislation, regulate and coordinate youth initiatives and actors through research, strategic partnership, and consultations for active youth participation and inclusion in economic, social, and political spheres. As we work to attain or to achieve this strategic plan, then we will be guided by the following core values. We will be guided by inclusiveness, professionalism, integrity and transparency, innovativeness, and teamwork. For sure, the National Youth Council cannot perform without innovativeness. Even I don't believe there's any organization that can perform in the current world without being innovative. And therefore, that is one of our core values that we are going to carry along as we implement this strategic plan. Next. Or disagree with us whether these are the issues that you feel like the National Youth Council should be able to address during these 5 years. One of the issues identified in this strategic plan is unregulated and uncoordinated youth sector. Here, this is where we are saying the youth space. We are so many of us. We have so many actors trying to empower youth in many different ways. But we are all at our different cocoons. We have not identified a coordinated approach to be able to work together and be able to deliver as one in this youth space. So what the National Youth Council has seen as an issue is that there is that uncoordination between us, and therefore it will require us within this strategic plan to find mechanisms to resolve that issue. Then the other issue that has been identified in this strategic plan is an inadequate youth association, representation, and participation. So this is lifted from what Article 55B calls the nation to do. We are saying, yes, there is some little bit of youth association, representation, and participation, but we would want to see that echoed even more. We would want to see many youth in government. We want to see many youth participating in different activities, and therefore that is going to be resolved within this strategic plan. Then there is another issue, youth manipulation and abuse. Now this one, specifically, as we were doing this, people were even thinking of what was happening during this season. Of late, you've had, and people are using hard terms like throat slitting, what is happening to as we export our youth to go and work in other countries. We've been able to see manipulation of our youth. We've been able to see our youth being abused in different ways. We've even lost our youth. We've even had them lose their money, lose their wealth. And therefore, through this strategic plan, we are looking at ways in which, mechanism in which that is going to be addressed. The other issue is inadequate institutional capacity and operational efficiency. This is purely internal. We are saying that the National Youth Council, yes, is there. It has some certain level of capacity to be able to implement all that we want to implement, but we are not yet there. We need to do something to be able to enhance the capacity of the organization so that in the long run, we are able to reach the youth to the grassroots level. We are able to even create better platforms for the youth voice to be heard. So that's an issue that is going to be addressed in this strategic plan. So we have, out of the issues that we have identified, we have 4 key result areas, of course, borrowed from those issues. So we'll be looking at the regulation and coordination of youth sector. We will be looking in general at youth association, representation and participation. We will be looking at safe youth space. We will be looking at institutional capacity and the operational efficiency. So also the objectives as listed there are also ways in which we are going to enhance the key result areas. Now, this table gives you a summary of what the issue is, what is the goal, where do we want to see ourselves after the implementation of this strategic plan, and what are these result areas that we are going to concentrate on as we try to resolve the issues that exist. So we have issues stated there, as I had already mentioned. We have the unregulated and uncoordinated youth sector. We have inadequate youth association, representation and participation. We have youth manipulation and abuse, and we have inadequate institutional capacity and operational efficiency. So each of the key result area, then we have been able to come up with strategies. Remember, from a strategy is where now in our work plans in the office, we should be able to come up with activities. So these strategies that are being presented here will be able to inform us on which activity tutaleta kwa ground, which are these activities that will be able to deal with every objective under every key result area. So we are looking at under the first key result area where we have regulation and coordination of the youth sectors. So to regulate youth serving organization, what are these strategies that we are going to employ to be able to implement that. We are saying we will develop and implement youth sector regulations, which means now these regulations will be able to speak to all of us who are in the youth sector to be able to work in a coordinated manner. We're also saying we are going to accredit youth workers and youth serving organizations. So we also have another objective to coordinate youth activities and initiatives. So what are we going to do to ensure that we work in a coordinated manner? We are saying we will establish and operationalize sector working groups. We are going to develop annual youth status report. We will promote professionalization of youth work. We will coordinate planning of programs, execution and monitoring of activities and initiatives of the sector working group. So these are very general strategies which should give birth to activities which we cannot present here. Activities will be done internally, but those activities, of course, will be aimed at those strategies. Next, please. So we're also saying our key result area, youth association representation and participation. So our objectives, we've broken them into 3. As you can see, we need to promote youth association, and we've given some of the strategies under it. One of it is to entrench values, patriotism and voluntarism, to promote community service and voluntarism among youth, to establish linkages and platforms that connect young people, entrepreneurs with mentors, industry professionals, and potential investors. So the other objective under that, next slide, please. We also want to enhance youth representation, and we are saying for youth representation, we are going to employ a number of strategies. We are going to develop leadership programs. We are going to create a leadership and governance framework. We are going to strengthen transformative leadership and effective civic representation. And to promote youth participation, we are saying we are going to employ the following strategies. We are going to mainstream youth participation in policy, planning and budgeting. We are going to enhance youth involvement in efforts to deal with environment and climate change issues to foster resilience. We are going to promote linkage of youth in eco-entrepreneurship and green jobs, and we are going to popularize youth development initiatives. So under the same, we also have a number of strategies. We are saying we are going to develop an intergenerational dialogue programs on sexual reproductive health rights, cultural retrogressive practices, mental health and emotional and spiritual support. We are going to advocate for policies that promote a favorable environment for youth entrepreneurs. We are going to establish partnership to undertake medical camps and food distribution to improve nutrition, physical health, and well-being of the youth. So under our key result area, safe youth space, our main objective here, we want to protect youth from abuse and manipulation. And the strategies that we are going to employ in order to do that, we are saying we are going to formulate programs to curb radicalization and violent extremism. We are going to formulate operational guidelines that will protect the youth against any form of abuse and manipulation. We are going to promote the aspirations of youth on the essential values and principles on the rule of law. So on our last key result area, where we're talking about building the capacity of the institution and even the operational efficiency. There are many strategies. Here is where now we want to build on all the support departments in the institution, so that if these strategies are clearly implemented, then we are going to say even implementation of this strategic plan will be very small. We are looking at the human resource capacity in terms of reviewing their instruments. We are looking at ways of motivating staff and even retention of staff. We are looking at doing business process reengineering. By this, we are saying things cannot be done the same over and over in many years. We have to look at ways of re-engineering our processes so that we are able to communicate to the world as it is today. Look at AI, look at the way the world is changing. We cannot do things the same way. And then we are looking at development of our work plans. That means the Department of Planning and Strategy has to be enhanced. We are looking at developing enterprise risk management policy. We are looking at ensuring that our research, development and policy is well enhanced to ensure that we can be able to inform policies based on facts out of research. We are also saying that, next slide. That's it? Okay. I didn't know I was going to be done that quickly, but that's it. As you've been able to see, the first thing that a strategic plan has to clearly show, what are the issues that we think should be resolved, which we were able to clearly stipulate that. So what we would want to know is, do you think those are real issues, or should we have an adjustment to them? Then we've given the strategies in which, or the objectives and strategies in which we think if we are able to do them, then we should be able to address the issues. So in the next stage, I think we should be able to give us an opportunity to review that whatever we've been able to present, so that we can be advised better for better insight. Thank you very much. Back to you, Irimo.
Thank you so much, Madam Chebet. That was so fast, which is very good. So I hope you've gotten to understand what Madam Chebet has presented on, and you've been able to note down your feedback. Remember, our Madam CEO mentioned that it's important for us to give very objective feedback, si ndio? Na hiyo ndio tunatafuta ile objectivity, si ndio? So that you give us your feedback, because remember, at the end of the day, this document is not for us. This document is just meant to give us a direction in terms of where we should head to, because this document is meant for you. And that is why you've noticed, even when Madam Chebet was making her presentation, she said that the tagline is changing from sauti ya vijana to what? Nimeona mjakuwa mkilala. To amplify the youth voice, because it's not meant for us. Sawa? So after this session, because it's actually 10:30, I don't know, is tea ready? Maybe you can check, so that, because the plan was for us to have tea. We have the tea break session. Maybe some of you can also get to discuss amongst yourselves with regard to the presentation made. Then we'll have a photo session immediately after this. When we step out, the communication team is going to guide us. Timothy, you'll guide us with regard to where you'd like us to have the group photo. Then we have tea. Then now we come back psyched up, tumbo ikiwa na joto, ndio tukue na plenary session. Sawa? I hope that is understood. So, team, should we proceed for photography? Mwambo, we proceed? So, who'll pray for us for the tea? Ndio tusiende kunywa chai tuanze kunyongwa hapo. So it's important at least to bariki chai, si ndio? Then after that, tutatoka upande wa nje, we go have our photo taken, then come back, enjoy your cup of tea and something to bite, then we come back. So tujipatie dakika ngapi? Right now it's 10:33. So it's 10:33. What time should we come back after the tea break? 11? In 15 minutes, So give or take, like 10 minutes to 11 o'clock, si ndio? Haya, sawa. Kindly, tunaweza tumia hii barabara hivyo, tupitie twende nje, tukapigwe picha, but before, nani anatuombea chai? Andrew, naona umeniangalia sana, tubarikie chai tafadhali.
Oh, thank you very much. Let's give thanks and pray. Mighty and everlasting God, Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, we want to thank you for the gift of life and good health, and we want to thank you even for the cup of tea and the snacks that you have given unto us. How we pray that you may bless them and sanctify them, that they may be of benefit to us. And it is in Jesus' mighty name we do pray and we give thanks. Amen.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Haya, mmesikia 15 to 20 minutes, eh? So kindly, we come back at that time. Thank you.
Uweke hapo iende live. How do you think kati ya live na hapa empty? Kwa sababu watu wa live wanaendelea kuweka. Hello.
So, because maybe in the last regime we did not feel the impact of National Youth Council. But I've seen now we have started on a very high note, and I'm fortunate and maybe I'm proud to be associated with NYC. I believe there's one thing that we have not felt in this government, and sorry to say, we have not felt the youth agenda being realized in this government. When you look at what women have done, women have been able to arrange themselves, kujipanga, such that they are now having a stake in government. So I think NYC will be able to lead us to ensure that the youth are also felt in this government. Because you find most of the time, we usually come up with good policy papers, strategic plans, but most of these documents are never actualized because they end up just being documents. But now, I've seen also Chebet did a very good presentation on the implementations of those strategic plans. So now the big question should be, when do we start the rollout? Because at the end of the day is what is being done on the ground. I believe that we have so much to do. We'll be here to support. Then there's the conversation of the generational change, which already was started. So we think we should be part of that generation discussion, so that now we discuss who will be the next ministers, because now we should champion youth to be ministers, youth to be PSS. How do we come up with policies that favor the young people? Even though the youth is a face, but we agree, when you talk of mentorship, we need to mentor the young ones. You need to mentor those who are behind us, and those, of course, those who are behind us will mentor them, the ones who will be behind them. So NYC will be here to support you guys. Definitely call on us anytime. You need our support. We'll be there to, even in terms of policy. And actually, mimi nilijitolea kitambo kuwasaidia mambo ya bunge. So whereby, in a situation whereby maybe there's that bill of ours, the NYC that was thrown away in Parliament, if you want us to start again the conversation, I think we can start the conversation. Some of these MPs are our friends. We were with them, so we know where the shoe pinches us. So let us begin this conversation so that even as we actualize this, we actualize with a council that is already recognized by law, and council that already is there to inefficiently work. So thank you very much. Let's keep on the journey. Asanteni.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kiarie. Indeed, as you saw, representation is one of the areas that we would really, really want to champion in the next 5 years. And so we will be putting our heads together. I'm glad you are
not mentioned, aware that Better has an agenda with health as well. And I was a bit concerned, or at least, wondered, health affects the first SDG, which is the poverty goal. Health also affects decent work because, absenteeism. We have a campaign happening right now, which is youth-oriented, the Power of Everyone campaign. And while we were doing our research, we went to Kisumu, and we realized that a large population in Kisumu right now works at Dunda Beach, where they are fishermen, and they are saying that most of them are affected economically due to absenteeism because of malaria. So this is not a malaria agenda, but good health and well-being also encompasses mental health. So I would just want to get some clarity on that and find out, is there space to have good health and well-being as part of the goals? Another question that I have is, sorry, I will remember it and then I will talk about it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Viridiana. Team NYC, I hope we are noting down the questions.
Thank you, Juliet, and it's great to be back home. My name is Viridiana Wasike from the National Government Affirmative Action Fund. First, receive greetings from my boss, Roy Sesaka-Telewa. He would have wished to be here, but due to work, he's out of the country. Two things I picked up. Congratulations, first of all. Great work done on the strategic plan. Quite excited about it because of the pillar for youth that we share with NGAF. So quite excited on the aspect for amplifying the youth voice and how you're coming along to NGAF to amplify the work that we are doing for youth. So really looking forward to that. And specifically on that point, within institutional capacity, I saw other strategies, but I didn't see the strategy for amplifying the youth voice, or basically the advocacy strategy. I have not seen it outlined in one of the institutional capacities, and I thought you covered that space very well, but I didn't see that amplification strategy. So I saw brand strategy, but not amplification strategy, which is basically advocacy. And I think that should be enhanced. Still within institutional capacity strengthening, you mentioned you're going to do partnership policy, and I'm not seeing any within that, either the partnership strategy. A policy is one thing, but critical to the work that the National Youth Council is doing, I think the partnership strategy should be a key area to include. Either we see how to play around with either the policy or strategy, or whichever fits best. Then finally, on the youth association under this objective, you said you're going to develop a national action plan, but you have not defined what national action plan you're going to develop. You just say develop an app. What type of national action plan are you developing? Is it a youth-based security national action plan? Is it an association national action plan? So maybe just that inclusion of being specific on what action plan you're going to develop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Viridiana. I think we'll take two more, then maybe my team can just give a thought on it. We note that there could be things that we might not be able to answer at this point, but they are very key to us, and we'll be able to take them in and ensure that we include them. So, Arnold.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Arnold Gekonge. I lead a youth initiative called Champions for SDGs. and I'd like to highlight 4 points after hearing from the great strategy that the National Youth Council has brought forth to take us through the next few years. So first of all, I like the new tagline, which is Amplify the Youth Voice. So I feel like this speaks more to what the National Youth Council should be working on. Secondly, I noticed that the National Youth Council seeks to create safe spaces for youth and also build institutional capacity. And these are also commendable points that the Council looks to pursue. And then thirdly, the strategy spoke about developing leadership programs and also a leadership and governance framework. Already in existence, I know of quite a number of leadership programs that are being implemented by various organizations countrywide. My suggestion is, could the National Youth Council consider partnering with such organizations? And examples are like the Young African Leaders Initiative, Regional Learning Center for East Africa, and also the Emerging Leaders Foundation, amongst others. And then, so you could look into pursuing partnerships with such institutions who already are running those programs, and then scale them out to the rest of the counties to reach more youth. And then I've already seen that the National Youth Council has actively engaged in national SDGs fora, and notably the pre-conference to the Sustainable Development Goals that is youth-led and targets youth, and then followed by the National Conference on SDGs. And in the same spirit, I would also suggest to the Council that we identify strategic global fora that we can support youth, or we can front youth to engage together with the national delegations to go and actively participate and carry forward our message as Kenyan youth. And some of these that I have identified, amongst others, are like the upcoming ECOSOC Youth Forum, which will be in April. And then we also have the high-level political forum. And as you might know, Kenya is reporting for the Sustainable Development Goals this year. So the State Department for Planning is working around this and also engaging other sector partners around that. So even as the Minister for the National Treasury and Planning plans to go and report, we could also consider carrying a youth voice in that delegation, and then we can have some insights shared on what have youth contributed to implementing in those 5 goals which are under review, which are the no poverty, zero hunger, climate action, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnerships for the goals, those 5 goals. So again, there is also the Summit of the Future, which is coming up together with the UN General Assembly. Again, the Summit of the Future is an important opportunity for us, youth especially. When it's called the Summit of the Future, it means the youth are the ones who are likely to see that future. So we need to see how we can strategically support that and engage in that. And then after those youth who take part in this notable fora come back, they should get support from the council to share their stories or get the messages they shared or their interactions or what they learned shared with other youth across the country. And this can be done using social platforms And a very good example, I've followed Madam CEO for a while on LinkedIn. You're very active and you inspire quite some people on that platform. So could we also have a similar way of sharing out now as an organization, stories of those youth who have actively taken part in those fora that we've mentioned? And with that, I thank you so much for your audience.
Thank you very much, Arnold. I think we are just looking forward to launching this because we are already having very many, ways of how we are going to partner and just, make this work. And I'll give Madam Chebet a chance later on. But right now, I'd like just to give a chance to Daktari first. I'm seeing very many hands up. Don't worry, we'll all speak. I'll give Daktari a chance. With his background in policy, I'm sure he's having so much for us. Daktari, take it up. Oh, there are two Daktaris. Daktari wa Kipra kwanza, Daktari wa SDY will cap it up. Yes, thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, good morning. My name is Eliud Moi. I work at Kipra. My work, I coordinate partnerships. And maybe before I raise my issues, just some background. I know for the last few years, we have now a very heavy focus. I think all of you know that I think starting with the previous government, laid a heavy focus on youth and youth activities. Many of you may not know, but Kipra was involved in supporting the ministry to do the National Youth Development Policy. So if you see anything, how many of you have read that policy? Because if you are sitting here and you have not read it, and you are a youth, now I'm just counting less than a third of the participants here, and I can see all of us are youth. Me, I am not youth. I'm youth at heart. But so we have the youth policy, which we supported doing, but starting a few years ago, we started expanding our focus towards youth activities. We realized that, of course, government was emphasizing programs that support youth. Now, one of our oldest programs is what we call the Young Professionals Program. That program was launched in 2003, and we have graduated many youth who go through that program. We give them skills to do policy research, policy analysis, and also to develop public policies. Now, we started a program we call Youth in Climate Action, because we had done a lot of research starting 2015, 2016, 2017. We did a lot of research on climate change in East Africa. We did on Kenya, we did in Uganda, we did in Tanzania. And we brought together those studies. Through that, we actually started getting a lot of attention from our partners who are willing to support our activities in climate change action. And so one of the activities, one of the priority areas was supporting youth in climate action. And so I think for the last 2 or 3 years, we have been having a youth symposium on climate action. Now that symposium is not meant to be a platform just to speak here in Nairobi. Our main target is to have youth to voice their concerns at regional and even global fora. Now, so in terms of the strategy, I think I have a few concerns. I'll start with the head of that strategic plan. The head is usually the vision. For me, and I was telling Madam Margaret, that I think when I saw your vision, I said you have set this vision too low. It's not even a vision. I don't know whether you received the draft of that. And I was telling her, one of my best visions is the vision which has been done by the UNDP. That vision says, a world without poverty. 3 words. So if you wake up anybody in UNDP and you ask them, what is the vision of UNDP? They will tell you. Because it's a simple vision, but very high. So good visions are simple. They can stick on somebody's mind. But it must be too high that Madam Margaret cannot achieve it even if she stayed in the council for the next 10 years. It must be high enough. It has to challenge all of us to achieve it. We have an American president called John F. Kennedy. When he was appointed president, he said, one of my dreams is that Americans are going to the moon. Now, those of you who read history, did Americans go to the moon? Yeah? They went to the moon. But John F. Kennedy was dead. Many of you know he was assassinated before he even saw that vision. So visions must be high enough to challenge us. So when we say we want to be a vibrant organization, and I was saying, okay, vibrant, the way I know vibrant, you can have many activities, you can call all conferences in Nairobi, you can have all our youth go for COP28 and other fora and so forth, and you say we are vibrant. That one we can do even this year, isn't it? We can achieve that this year. And so for me, it's not a good vision. Because a vision, a good vision, is something that is long-term. It's long-term into the future. And I was just using an example of your English teacher. If your English teacher qualified, when you are in lower primary school, your English teacher asked you, when you grow up, what would you like to become? They were teaching you to set a vision. A vision, we usually place it at the same level as a goal. Because goal, we also with thing we call a dream. It has to be. So vision, I have a problem with the vision. Because vision, the reason why we need a vision is because all our resources and activities, we channel them towards attaining the vision. Meaning everything we do. So if you go to UNDP, anything they are doing, they are looking towards zero poverty. A world where there's no poverty. For me, that was my first observation, I think, when I got this draft. And now, my second concern is about, I'll talk about your strengths and weaknesses and why we need them in a strategic plan. Okay, usually we use SWOT and PESTEL to do the. Now, anything we say is our weakness, we must see it picked up in our strategy because we have to correct it. I'm seeing some things in the strategy, but when you look at the weaknesses, they're not there. So I'm asking, so why are we doing them? I can give you an example. I saw we are coming up with so many new policies. You know me, I work in a policy institution. So when you say you are developing a policy, I go there. So many policies, even a finance policy. So I was asking, how is the council running up to now? We are doing more than actually 10 policies. But in weaknesses, we are not saying anything on policies. And you know, if you don't have policies, that's a governance problem. That's why when we meet governors and we speak to them, and they have no policy, we ask them, then what are you doing as a governor of your county? Maybe Nyamira or Kakamega or Busia. Because without a policy, you can't govern. The word policy and the word police, they go hand in hand. Because police help you to govern. Policies help you to govern. So without policies, you can't govern. So if you have an institution and you don't have proper policies, that's a governance problem. It means there are problems of internal governance problems. Now, so the SWOT, I think it needs to be done better. That's what I'm saying. Some weaknesses, if say you find that you don't have policies, it must have led to some challenges inside, which is a weakness. And you see, those are things we look at and then we'll have to pick up, I think, as we plan going forward. So I think we will then need to reflect on what we have as our, because what we have are weaknesses, we must come up with interventions to correct them. What we have as strengths, some of them we can strengthen if we think we have not yet reached there. And then I have the chapter on strategic objectives and strategies. I have a problem with some of the targets that you have. I look at an area and then you have targets and you're just saying percent, 25%, 20%, 50%, after 5 years, 100%. But what is the baseline? Where are we starting? By now, I think the Youth Council has been in existence for a long time. We need to know the baseline. So when you are telling us we'll improve this by 25%, we can compute. But when you just tell us 25, I just see like maybe it's just a joke because it doesn't say anything. It doesn't tell me anything. I think I noted that. And then about Youth Voice. Youth Voice, I've told you, for us, we have worked with youth now, and I know some of the challenges that youth are facing, especially when it comes even to voice. For us, we are not an advocacy institution because we provide policy advisory to government. Now, youth organizations, many of them are advocacy organizations. And so when we support them so that when they are out there arguing their positions and what they want done for the youth, their presentation skills are fine. In other words, we give them capacity to do good presentations. We build their capacity to develop good policy briefs, which help them to advocate for policy issues if they want policy change. They can do a nice policy brief which advocates for change. So advocacy institutions are supposed to have some skills which youth actually don't have. That one we have learned in our 3 years of working very closely with youth organizations. And many youth organizations are briefcase. They are briefcase. And so when they came to Kipra and they asked us to do MOUs, we told them we don't do with institutions that are not registered and they don't have an office. We don't do MOUs with briefcases. But the Youth Council can come up with strategies to help youth so that you become official. When you come to do an MOU with us, then we're asking you, where's your registration? Where are you located? We can trace you. Many youth groups don't have. They don't have that. They come, they tell you a big story, big picture, big name, and many of the things they do. But inside is hollow. Kuna kitu. So we need to build their capacity at that point. Because some of them are existing, but they even don't know the usefulness of this. If you don't have registration, it denies you many things. You can't transact with government, even if you want credit from youth fund or whatever it is and so forth. There are things they ask, isn't it? If you are a youth group, you must be registered. So we usually ask for that. Now, so in terms of voice, I think for me, and I think my colleague who came before me listed some things which I wanted to see in this strategic plan. When it comes to the national level, which platform do we want youth to be active and visible? They should be there, visible, but also active. Because they can just go and take tea and mandazi and then that is all. But we want them to be active and participate. Local platforms. I've seen very many youth events here locally. Which ones are we targeting as Youth Council to make sure we work with youth or even organize hours for youth? At the regional level, I know I'm saying regional because I've attended other fora which are for youth. I don't see some youth from Kenya. But we attend as a think tank. We are invited. There are regional fora on African continent, in the East Africa community. I know he listed a few. What you listed is just a handful. There are many. I would like to see this strategy be very, very specific. Yeah, we should be specific on what we are thinking. Because when we say general things, then they are never done. When we say we are targeting this, then we know yes. When we are asking for accountability, then that is what we are checking. Now, then we have the global. So we have to be very strategic. This is a strategic plan. We have to go domestic, local, go regional, and then go global. Because we don't want... I'm saying this because when we started participating in what we call... We are participating in 2 global forums as a think tank. The first one we started participating was what we call the T20. The T20 brings together think tanks regionally. Now, T20 works alongside the G20. The G20 has the powerful nations in the world. So G20 brings together the most powerful countries in the world. They make global decisions. And so they realized that we did not have a forum which feeds them with evidence to make their decisions. And so they said, but a lot of research is done in think tanks. So they started the T20. Kipra has been part of the T20. This is our third year. And that forum, of course, opened our eyes to this thing we call participation and voice. We actually realized that in some of those fora, we have space, but we have not been participating. And that is why when youth start participating, then they will have fora where they can voice their concerns. Now, again, I think this happened almost at the same time. We then also have been part of the COP processes. We started with COP27, COP28. We are now moving towards COP28. Now, again for COP, they formed something called there is a T for think tanks. So for COP28, we had a T28. For COP27, we had a T27. For COP29, we will be part of the T29. Now, the T29 is the intellectual think tank for the COP29. And Kipra is one of the 4 think tanks in that forum. So we do research that influences some of the decisions that are made at the COP28. But the reason why we work with the youth to be effective in those platforms is so that their voice can be heard as we feed the process with our intellectual outputs, because we do policy research and we support the COP28 planning committees to do their work. So we have been working with some of the youth. I saw a few here who have been participating in the COP processes, and that would be a nice thing for us. So I think for me, that is my last one, I think our youth, we need a very strong mentorship for our youth. I know you talked about values, but now values are spilled all over. If you meet any Kenyan youth now, even in this room, and you ask them, do you want to go to Europe? All of them will tell you they want to leave Kenya behind. Am I right or wrong? I speak to many youth fora, and many of them tell us they are fed up with this country. These are the kind of youth we have, even in this room. If you tell them you want a green, I have so many green cards come. All of them will come for green cards to go to US, to migrate. Our constitution talks about patriotism, which is a national value, isn't it? Patriotism, if you don't know, I can define for you in a very simple way. And I think we have been in those fora where national values comes, and I have learned from them a few things. It is like a national value. The patriotism means you love your country just the same way you love your mother. If you are walking in the compound at home and you stumble on your mother naked, what do? You don't walk around telling everybody your mother is naked. That is patriotism. But our youth want to walk in the street screaming that they saw their mother naked. So that's a problem of values. Our youth need to be mentored. I was talking to an association for Kenya Economics, KESA. It's Kenya Economic Students Association. It's called KESA. They bring together all economic students in universities and technical institutions. They had a summit, I think, in Mount Kenya University, I think is it this month or last month. Now, many of our students need also to be mentored professionally. Because many of them, when you speak to them when they have finished their studies, they have no direction they want to take. Somebody has taken 4 years doing a bachelor's in education degree, And you ask them, so when you finish, what do you want to do? They tell you, I don't want to be a teacher. So ask them, why were you wasting your time? 4 years in university, and you don't want to go and teach? Because when they come to the university, we teach them how to teach. It's a problem of mentorship. I usually use this analogy. As a young person, if you don't have a mentor, a professional mentor, then you are a professional orphan. It's like that child whose father died and the mother died and they were left without any guidance. So if you don't have somebody to, we usually call it standing on others' shoulders. These are people who have been there before you. So when you stand on their shoulders, you can see more that you couldn't see if you stood on your own. Standing on others' shoulders. You don't do mistakes which people learned from in the past. I stop here. Thank you.
That one deserves a better clap. That deserves a better clap. Thank you so much, Daktari. That has been a very good review, and we look forward to making the changes and having that vision that is bigger than us. Yeah, and thank you very much. We know we've had a very good partnership with Kipra, and they've been able to support us in different policy issues. So thank you very much. Daktari Katamu, you will be the last one. I'll let the rest give their views. Then, as our father, you will be the last one. Yes.
Hello, good afternoon. Is it morning or afternoon? Oh, morning. Oh, my name is Andrew Kinja Mutugi, and I'm working with an association called the Tourism Ambassadors of Kenya, working closely with the Kenya Tourism Board. Now, one, I'd like to compliment what Kiarie said. Kiarie talked about the issue of the review of the Act, which there was an amendment bill that went to the National Assembly, and it didn't see the light. So that one needs to be done. And Kiarie, you need to lobby the National Youth Council. You also need to bring the young parliamentarians together so that they push that agenda. The other one is about the issue that I saw on the strategic issues. And there is two things there. One is on the registration of youth serving associations. Now, actually, we have a big problem when it comes even to state departments and government agencies and even the United Nations trying to associate and to work with youth-serving organizations. So now, in your strategic plan, kindly capture even having a registrar that is going to do registration issues for youth-serving organization. And also, on that light, see how you can be able to do categorization of their different practices, so that if right now you're given a letter by the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, you already have a youth-serving organization that is on that line. Then the other one is on the vision, like what Daktari was saying, about amplifying the voice of the youth. This one touches so much about leadership, youth leadership, and policy formulation. Now, in your policy, you also need to work on a framework on the youth council, and there were elections that were supposed to be done. The act is very clear. It talks about a participation from the grassroots. You know, if you want the youth to own this program, then you have to involve them. And the absenteeism of this election they have been calling for. Now they are forming other things they are calling the Kenya Youth Organization, other funny organizations there. And you know what they start doing? Instead of complementing what the national youth is doing, then they start finding. And we need the youth to speak in one voice. Then I also have another issue on
the issue of formulation, the issue of the formulation of boards in parastatals. I don't know how you are going to craft that in your strategic plan, that, you know, the youths are appearing somewhere as the marginalized group. How can you, 75% of the stakeholder, how can he be a marginalized person? And you know, this is the person that needs to be in the major group. That's what the UN is calling the youths, the major groups. So you need to see how you are going to bring that out well, so that when it comes to aligning the inclusion of the youth to amplify that voice, they are all over. We have leadership. I don't know how you're going to work with those youth in leadership, the MCAs, the MPs. In your strategic plan, let them feel they are present. That the time you're even doing the presentation to them, they feel the unit. Then, see how you're going to align the strategic plan with the international, like what Dr. said, the international existing policies and strategies. Like now, we have the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and Vision 2030. Actually, what even the government is doing is working consistent with that vision, and it is flowing down. That's why you see, if now they talk about agenda number 3 on health and wellness, now for our government is talking about universal health coverage. Now, you also need to work closely with what is called the African Agenda 2063. Now, you know, we cannot live in isolation, so that when we even go to the international space, we align and we remain relevant. I don't want to take a lot of time. Then, you also need to spare us some more time when it comes to articulating our issues. You know, like now, Daktari is pure a consultant, and now when he's giving his issues, akikuja na sisi ambao hatuna all that information that he has, you know, sometimes we may feel like we are inferior. We need, when it comes now for him to consult and to give us counsel and wisdom, there is his day. But now for us, let us get an opportunity to air out every issue that we have on us. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. I think we would want to ride on his, strengths, and that's why we bring him in the room. I'm sure he has been saying here that most of us youth do not know how to, present ourselves professionally, so much that when we see him here, I mean, we can learn a thing or two from him. And I'm sure this is not only for NYC, partnerships are being created here, and in the future, our youth are going to be, the youth that are the representation that Kenya needs. Thank you very much. I thought you were going to talk to us about how to package ourselves in the tourism area, but that is for another time.
Maybe I can just say something about that, because you've mentioned. Already right now, the Ministry of Tourism is working on the reviewing its policy and the act, the Tourism Act. We have already, Samuel Jane is part of that team that is doing that, and we have also recommended that the National Youth Council and the State Department for Youth Affairs to be included in that review. So I know communication is going to flow through the office of the Principal Secretary, and I definitely know the CEO might get that communication. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See, we are going to lose on that, but I'm glad it's tourism, it's health, it's SDGs. So we are looking to really enrich this document. I'll finalize with him on the other side, so that when I move this side now, I'm seeing very many hands, then the mic can be here.
Yes, good afternoon. Yes, my name is Michael Sanya. I work with the organization called the Oslo Center. At the Oslo Center, we work with women, youth, political parties, and the youth within political parties. And for me, my reaction would be, and I want to echo the sentiments of those that have talked about partnership. I try to look at the strategic plan, but if you look at areas where you've mentioned partnership, I think it's a bit very minimal. Because if you look at the entirety of that strategic plan, is mostly about how do you strategically position yourself with the other initiatives that are already happening. Because you're not reinventing the wheel.
already there are interventions that are happening, especially geared towards amplifying the youth voices and also increasing or enhancing youth inclusion. And especially for us working with the youth within political parties, you realize that youth have majorly been marginalized or put at the periphery. So I think through this strategic plan, it will be important for us to look at the key component of partnerships, because through that we'll be able to build synergies and we'll be able to also achieve, we might find ourselves achieving this strategic plan in a year, because there are a lot of interventions that are happening across the country. And also of key importance normally that I would want to maybe advise, as a youth council, do we have a database of all the youth-led organizations that are in the country? Because most of us are giving all our views, but you're forgetting that as a country, we don't have like a database that really speaks to all the registered youth-led organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you could be aware, one of our functions is to regulate and coordinate, yeah? And that is why in one of our KRAs, there's something about regulation and coordination, and that is where we look to get this database. So thank you very much. NYC team, I hope we are taking in all this information that will be able to enrich our document. So bring it this side and start with the...
Good afternoon. My name is Nandwa Joseph. I work with the Undugu Society of Kenya. Undugu is an organization that works with vulnerable children and youth, and mostly street connected. It's not that streets give birth to youth or children, but we have just talked about street connected because it's an interaction way of reaching out to the vulnerable. I just want to make comments on 2 or 3 things, then I hold up. One is about the partnering and collaboration. We have done it well with NYC, but I wanted to say, when you are talking about partnering and what my brother just mentioned there, let us also consider those with vulnerability. There are some sectors like the street connected, they have been left out, and whatever they are going through, they have to be included. How to define that? It's upon us now. There's something that Dr. talked about on the visibility and the synergy. I think if we connect the issues that were being raised in the document and what were coming out on the 4 issues, I'm just asking myself whether number 2 and number 3 that talks about the representation and manipulation, whether there's a way that we can merge the 2 to be one so that it can speak to itself, especially connecting with the issues that were being raised when you are doing the SWOT. And the last one is on the visibility still at the national level. We have talked about it, and I'm just asking myself whether we can also build on that in terms of how can the NYC be felt on the ground, so that other than just being at the national level, what else can be done so that down there, when you talk about the NYC and its activities, there's something that can be visible and youth can, with a lot of energy, talk about NYC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Visibility, partnership, yeah? So it's something that we will be looking to enrich the document with, and we are keen to add all that with your support. Samuel Jen.
I think it's afternoon. So my name is Samuel Jen from the Tourism Ambassador. It is Andrew has mentioned a number of things. This is part of what I was to just mention, but I just want to make a comment in regards to what Dr. have just mentioned briefly, because that is what I'd planned to, talk about. And we live in a world that is changing, and I like the way Chebet saying about the AIs. It's changing things. But maybe my challenge to the institution, that is the NYC, is as we do the strategic plan, what is guiding us? I believe data stands to be one of the key things that should be able to guide us on policies, even the policies that we have already highlighted. Where the doc said about 25%. So again, I was looking at what is the baseline that we are arguing our case. We need to reflect on the previous strategy we had and where we are looking at, then data needs to have already guided us. So my challenge is to the institution, let's have a structure of the data, and not just having the data, but have the data that is analyzed. So that means you have the capacity to as well analyze that data and make insight, so that by the time we are deciding this is a step we want to take, or even measure at the level of achievement of what we had already said at the very beginning, we have a base. And I think that was my main point.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Samuel Jen. Yes.
I'm Jambo. I'm David Livingston Kose, Human Rights Defender, Secretary General of Kibra Societal Empowerment, Peace and Budget Champion. Not Kibra, Kibra, the Kibera Republic. So, my brothers and sisters, I want to commend the team who made the document plan. It is a very good document, and the document, it's educative, it's a class on itself, and my favorite chapter maybe is chapter 6, where we have implementation, skills, framework, teamwork. My brothers and sisters, we are here to give inputs, opinions, and proposals, and we are not scrutinizing an institution. So maybe I will suggest that when we are giving our thoughts, we tender to presentation, recommendations, so as the NYC can take notes, because we are doing it together. Because when you say you have a problem with this, it's not about you having a problem, it's about us doing the review. So our inputs will make great improvements in the document. Dr. you forgot to give us your proposals about the vision, because as your status, we really require your advisory, and you mean a lot to us. So maybe if I want to comment, I would like to say that it's about our responsibility and obligation to work as a team, mainly in the last statement of strategic issues, where we have inadequate institutional capacity and operational efficiency. And that leads to chapter 7, where we have mobilizations, resource mobilizations. So my comment is that it is now our responsibility to work as a team so that we can lobby, mainly through the financial sector hearings, the CIDPs, ADPs, so that at least through the process, the institution can have more resources, because the plan is too huge without financial support. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we welcome all comments, actually. I think it's just a bit of English that sometimes is different. Somebody says they have a problem. It doesn't really mean it's a problem. That's a concern that they are asking us to look into. So yeah, we are welcoming all comments. We are National Youth Council, and we seek to listen and act. So thank you very much. Over to Ken.
First of all, let me thank the National Youth Council for the invitation for this very important meeting. Thank you, Madam CEO. Secondly, is just to tell your team that this is a very good product because one of the things that I look at is in terms of communication. When you have a document that is not communicating to the local people, is more of a technical document, then you leave it for us who are the technical people who advise some of these heads of states because it's technical. But if you read this document, it's pure, very clear. Or if it's me who read it alone, I find it very, very simple. And it's a very good thing going forward. Two is the issue of this validation. I would suggest that let this be the first validation. Like this is a Nairobi validation. Could you also go into the regions, like the old provinces, and ensure that you're having, validation to listen to the voices of the young people? Why I say this is that NYC's purpose is not to implement. It's basically coordination. And you're coordinating this huge population. And you're coordinating a huge population that wants ownership of a document, then you must involve them. Three, is the issue of resourcing. I've looked at your chapter 7 and what makes me very know what you're doing is how you do your budgets. Because as NYC, if you put a budget of 90 million Kenya shillings for 1 year, I will tell you, doctor from Kipra, if he looks at it, he will say, these people are not serious. This is a whole NYC asking for 90 million. For a whole year. Are you asking for salaries? That is a question. Please, don't limit yourself to a caveat that you're used to. Always your vote is about 90 million, 100 million. You would rather even surprise some of us and say 400 million. And we say, what do these people want to do? And when you give that figure, when it comes and you say, there is no money, but we can give you 200 million. But when you limit yourself for the last 4 years, 5 years, you're oscillating around 90 million. You know very well, Margaret, I'll tell you that I used 25 million in a week to do a regional meeting. So 90 million will only do 3.5 meetings and I have nothing to do for a whole year. So in terms of my value add, please, I am ready to assist you do resource mobilization because that is my expertise. And that is what I've been doing for the last 15 years for 12 countries. I remember one time I just challenged President Uhuru when he was president. I told him, we need money for the Great Lakes. And he asked me, how much do you need, Kennedy? We're in Angola. And I told him, give us time. We do the budget. We bring it to you. And we did the budget, $5.7 million. And when we took it to him through the the cabinet minister and minister for treasury, it was endorsed by cabinet. And we got 5.7 million for the Great Lakes. So what stops us in supporting the National Youth Council, If you say you're majority, unless if you're not paying tax. Then we should say all the taxes paid by the youth should go to the National Youth Council. Does it make sense? So also claim that piece of cake. Don't just be under a ministry of, youth, creatives, and sports, and say, you see, if the mother ministry has not said anything, so you can't go beyond them. Think outside the box, and I'm very ready to assist you, even if it means talking to whoever you want us to talk to. We can do it, and we shall do it. We know how to source for money. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our leadership is here. They will let us know whether we are able to go to the grassroots, and we have a resource mobilizer here. So there is money. Madam CEO. So wewe tuambie tu ni lini unataka twende na ni vipi, tuambie Mr. Ken here atufanyie hivyo. Thank you very much, Mr. Ken. Yes. Okay.
I think we are well into the afternoon. So good afternoon. I'm Wambui. I think I'd introduced myself before. So I'd like to echo what Daktari said when he said that youth are taking any opportunity to get out of the country. But I think it's because of whatever problems we have in the country right now, one of them being unemployment. We've heard about unemployment time and time again, and often people just respond to that with saying you can be self-employed. But being on the ground, I know that is not very easy. It is not very easy to come up with a solution and to carry it through without having the support from the government. And here we are talking about financial support and capacity building and having the knowledge of products that are available for youth, like Youth Fund. We know many youth do not know there is the provision of Youth Fund. So with that, I was very happy to see that in some of the solutions that you have in the strategic plan, we have advocate for policies that promote a favorable environment for youth entrepreneurship. So under that, I was hoping that you had outlined things like lobbying for better products for youth, advocating for innovation and technology uptake, and carrying through with robust programs and frameworks that support youth entrepreneurship. And yeah, thank you.
Much, yes.
Yeah. My name is Abraham Jim from Nyeri County. I'm so happy to be invited in this platform, and mine are a few points to acknowledge the great work done and to say that this is a blessing in our country. NYS is a great opportunity, and all of us, NYC. What did I say? Okay, they are sisters, kind of don't know. NYC is a great opportunity, and all that has been shared by the presenters is great. Maybe I would ask, when you say that you are another advocacy platform for the youth, yet you are an arm of the government, does it mean that you are advocating within the same government that you're supposed to be giving us support and empowerment? So I would suggest that maybe you remove the word advocacy there. You allow all the others who are not government bodies to do that, and you major on empowerment and positioning. Because it sounds like you are the government, you are advocating against who? So that would be my idea. Then the other thing is that the work we do in Nyeri, I run an organization called Jimsters Success Foundation. It is a Kingdom Parachurch organization that deals with Kingdom civic education. We teach how we can take personal responsibilities vis-a-vis what we are used to corporate social responsibility. This is what we teach. That they are human rights, but they are right humans. Until you become the right human, doesn't matter how many policies we are going to have, how many organizations, and this is to us as youths. And also, let me also say something, that in this world, there are always going to be agitators, but there are always going to be contributors. So I want to let the NYC team, don't give yourself a lot of pressure. I know the great pressure you have to deliver, to make things work, but even if you give us your blood and sweat, there will always be agitators and contributors. For those who are here, it is our work to go and become the implementers of this policy with or without a title, a name, a platform, or a position. Let me remind you that marginalization has not just started now. It started in the days of the Bible. David was marginalized by his own father, forgotten. So if in the times of the Bible these things happen, this is my personal challenge to us. Focus on adding your personal value every day, where you are, as you wait for God to give you your right platform and contested in the right time. By that, I will say that whenever you feel like you are not doing enough, or someone is not giving you enough position as a youth, don't feel bad. The challenge is, are you becoming the right person that if you are given an opportunity tomorrow, you'll be ready to deliver what you are saying others are not doing. That is my work for us. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much. And NYC advocates for, not against. Yeah, we advocate for youth empowerment, and as you rightly put it, we've said that this strategic plan is really not NYC's. It is outward looking. And so we will be looking out to even YSOs to help us as we partner, so that we are able to implement some of these initiatives, so that we are right humans, right? In as much as they're human rights. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Ivy Maninga. I work for APIA, which is a member of Commonwealth Alliance of Youth Workers Association. We are very pleased with the strategic plan, as youth work has been well defined. Youth worker has been also well defined, and providing a safe youth space. Before I go to my main points, I'd like to highlight that on page 20, the fourth core value is missing. And my main points are on regulation and coordination, which will also basically touch on safe youth space. We feel like it's not very specific how you're going to regulate and coordinate, and the fact that there's mention of youth work and also professionalization, but there's almost no policy action mentioned on the same, and how to promote it. And for us to also promote effective youth development and youth work, we have to ensure that it is conducted in a very professional manner, and this will involve establishing and recognizing youth work as a legitimate and valuable field, and ensuring everyone who's working for the young people have the appropriate skills, knowledge, and support. And through this, we'd like to suggest on how to promote this regulation and coordination by professionalizing youth work, and also as we provide a safe space for youth. I think NYC can establish professional standards amongst youth workers. You can also accredit and register youth workers. You can also promote voluntary professional self-regulation in line with the Societies Act, because most of us are not registered under NYC. Most of our organizations are either registered under the Societies Act or the NGO board. So, of course, we adhere to the regulations set by those bodies. We can also promote very clear career pathways for youth workers, and also promote continuity in professional development for youth workers to ensure that youth development and youth programs offered by YSOs or youth-led organizations are very effective and actually benefit young people and help them grow. We can also promote trainings, promote necessary legislations that will support youth work, emergence of youth work as a profession in Kenya, because people who are working for young people don't have a very well-defined career. We are not social workers. I'm here as a young person as well as a youth worker, but I'm not a social worker. I could be in programs and I'll call myself a program manager, but at the end of the day, I am a youth worker because that is my profession. So if we promote these necessary legislations to support an ethical framework needs to be put in place to guide professionals in their practice and decision making, with emphasis on respect, integrity, for the best interests of young people, especially that now we are addressing creating a safe space for young people. The people who work for them can also pose a very significant risk to the kind of programs they bring to them and also how they engage them. And finally, I'd also like to suggest promotion of advocacy and awareness on professional youth work in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivy. I know you are very big on professionalizing youth work, and we've been able to have so much deliberations on that. I'm sure on manipulation, on the registration, you're touching on that. And so we will be looking for your expertise to be able just to enrich this document so that it's all-encompassing by the time we are implementing it. Okay, I will get back to you.
Good afternoon. Mimi naitwa Sunday Governor na nimefurahia. Madam CEO unafanya kazi mzuri, but lazima tuongeze idea, si kweli? Na ukiangalia document iko sawa, but bila kuipeleka mashinani haitakuwa na maana yote. So lazima tuangalie ile mbinu ile, lazima tuipeleke na mashinani. Juu ukiangalia NYC ni voice ya vijana. I think zile vitu zote government ina implement na zinataka kuhusisha vijana, na lazima NYC jue ndio ipeleke kwa ground level. Si ni kweli? Kama leo nimeangalia kitu fulani, story ya health. Kama sasa unaona kitu kama NHIF imetolewa, wameleta ingine. But hakuna ule mtu anaenda kuelezea mtu wa mashinani ama kijana, because kijana maybe ana hiyo time ya kuona TV ama ile fulani, kujua je hii NHIF wameitoa, wameleta na kitu gani ingine, si kweli? So kitu kama NYC ningekuwa na partner na national government, at least kwenda mashinani kuelezea vijana vitu kama hizo. Alafu then bado kuna kitu ingine, story ya nakada. Kama sasa ukiangalia kila mtaa sasa hii government inasema na mwaga nini? Pombe, si ndio? Na ukiangalia wale watu wako affected kabisa ni vijana. So before wangehusisha vitu watu kama machief na watu wengine, NYC ndio ingekuwa kwa ground ya kwanza kuambia vijana effect ya drugs. But sasa kama unaangalia sasa hii wale wako pale chini mashinani ni machiefs. So hiyo kitu kai itabadilisha ama haitabadilisha. So NYC I think ingepartner na national government implement zile vitu za vijana. So I think national government kuna ile kitu mewacha ya vijana. So Madam CEO, vitu kama hizo ndio tungepeleka mashinani itusaidie. Then ukiangalia mambo ya politics, hatuwezi ondokea, because hiyo ndio kama backbone ya yetu sahi. After ball tuko kwa politics. So NYC pia ingeangalia vitu kama hizo, iende mashinani. In fact meeting kama hizi zingekuwa kwa kila constituency, ingetusaidia zaidi. Because mimi kama Sunday peke yangu siwezi constituency mzima, but at least wakiona CEO itakuwa inaniongeza ka ile energy ya kuhimiza na kufanya vitu zingine, si kweli? Nimemalizia hapo, simnipigie makofi.
Asante sana Governor.
Simpigie CEO makofi. Sijipigie makofi. Siongezi tena.
Sasa ni huyo ni kijana ameamua akichukua mic lazima tusikize. Na ameisema kwa Kiswahili. Madam CEO, hiyo umesikia kabisa. We will be able to act on that, and thank you very much. I think it is very clear that we need to take this to the grassroots, and so that all youth are able just to, give their input on this, and we are taking in that. We are very grateful. Yes, Gideon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, my input about the same is on county level engagement. When we go back to our respective counties, we are told that the youth department, the youth function is not fully devolved. There is a lot of marginalization that is happening to the youth at the grassroots level when it comes to budgetary allocation, when it comes to structured youth engagement at the county level. There is generally a disconnect between policymakers and the policy-making process and the implementation part of policy work and every other thing at the county level, because we are thrown to the national government, that county governments normally regard the youth as a national government's affair. If you go to our counties, most of the least funded projects are youth-based. In terms of having the leadership even at the cabinet levels, in terms of county governments, like Kajiado County where I come from, the youth department is attached to tourism and a lot of other things, and we even do not have a youth-specific chief officer for the county, and the department is tied to a lot of other programs. And if you also look at how meaningfully the youth affairs are being aligned to the operations at the county level, you barely can tell where the youth come in. You also look at the operationalization of the youth empowerment centers at the constituency levels. Like there is one for Kajiado Central, I know. It has become a cowshed for stray cows and donkeys doing their thing there. And when you see sometimes, I heard Daktari say that if you are a briefcase organization, you cannot be pinned to a certain location, you cannot be located anywhere, then that is a challenge that these empowerment centers could be able to solve. Because if there is an accredited organization that is already doing something, but the only thing they are lacking is an office space, why can't the NYC push for the operationalization? Just completing these stalled projects about youth empowerment centers, then we can be able to solve the problem that Daktari had identified in his earlier statement. Another thing is about the youth employment. Most of our youth are being employed by the agricultural sector, and their dependence in the use of natural resources is a major source of employment. The NYC should also take keen interest in advocating for youth-friendly regulatory policies and empowerment policies aimed at achieving sustainable economic development while respecting human rights and protection of the environment. Like, I still take you back to Kajiado, that most of the youth are being employed by sand harvesting activities. The very unregulated, uncoordinated sand harvesting activities that must be dependent on, and the overexploitation of our rivers and the lack of the minimum wage for the workers working at the riverine areas. And if you look at the child labor that is also present there, and a lot of other social problems because of the unregulation of the sector, where so many youth are working, then it calls for the NYC's intervention. So, and Kajiado is not unique to all these other counties where mining is happening and every other thing. So we also need to have that keen interest in terms of the natural resources and food security that is employing a lot of young people in the agricultural sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that one sets us to the next stage. Yeah, we need to now solve that issue of youth factor is not fully devolved, but at the same time, youth are at the counties. So our leadership is here. They are listening. And definitely, we will be working together to be sure that this is resolved. And even the empowerment centers, Daktari, tumekuwa accused. But I'm sure there's something that could be done. He's speaking about, youth-friendly policies and so much more. Partnerships coming in very clearly, advocacy, and so I think this is very rich, and we are really welcoming all that input. Yes, I was trying to look at hands up so that I see how many more we got to go before I can give Daktari and even my CEO our time. So we are having about 4, yes. So we can start right there. We'll come here, then we'll finish up before I can give Daktari and Madam CEO a chance.
With all protocol observed, good afternoon. My name is Gideon Mereru from USPAC. USPAC in full is Universities and Colleges Student Peace Association of Kenya. First, I also wish to appreciate NYC for a good job and commendable thing that you're doing, having drafted the NYC strategic plan. For now, we have a roadmap that is guiding us, and of course, having grew, let me just say that in this country, I think for now, the light for NYC is kind reflecting, because then it was a challenge. And when we have a platform that we're able to echo and share our issues as young people, it will be the best. And why I'm saying this one, we have very, very, very many youth-led organizations in this country, but now you wonder, whom will we report to? Because I heard Daktari saying something that, they are young organization, but now ziko tu, they are not functional. But when you find them, they tell you many things. And Daktari, that is happening because our dreams are not considered. And like when you are aware, even the current regime, and you can affirm for me, even the executive department, it's hard, and we don't see the representation of young people. But we come to such platform and discuss what is pertaining young people. These are young people who have dreams, but now when we have a platform that we're able to echo our issues, for sure, the implementation of all these things that you are saying, the policy development, the leadership, and different focus areas that we focus as young people, for sure, we will be in a safe side. There is the first presentation in the morning by Chebet. I heard that she said one thing, that we will be regulating the youth-led organization. Let me just say that. And of course, I feel that is the best thing, because like we will be secure. Why I'm saying that, we may be even having other organizations from outside the country coming up to exercise and play a role that the youth in this country could have played. Why? We are not secure. And like an example, when Gideon is attacked, and when I say that, let me just mention USPAC, because that's where I am. I will not be secure, because whom will I report to? And kind of there is a competition. And then the other input that I wanted to talk about is actually the budgetary allocation for NYC. Madam CEO, in fact, that's a challenge, and of course I hope with the Secretariat it will be taken into action, because by the budget that we see, the 98 million, I was really challenged by good friend who actually just given his sentiment, because NYC is a very big entity. We could be talking of 500 million and above. Why? This information should go to the grassroots. And when I was listening to the people, everybody was talking, like example, the gentleman from Kajiado and others who have actually given the input. You find this information should not be just in KICD or within Nairobi region, because we have stakeholders today, but this is information that should be get from the grassroots. And even the strategic plan development should have started from the grassroots level. Now coming to a point that now the stakeholders like you will endorse before it be put into action. Whereby I understand now it's on the process of endorsement, because after that it will be shared to maybe the ministries, whereby if they will have to approve, I will tell you this conversation may not be familiar to the grassroots people, and it should be. The other thing that I have heard of also is the leadership. We need to have a leadership that is transparent. When I say transparent, it should be in our counties level, whereby I had somebody saying that it is there, but for sure, it's not implemented to the best. And you can see that even NYC is actually facing such thing. What about back in the counties? So I don't know whether I'm giving a comment or an input that should be put, but actually there is a lot, and of course, as stakeholders who have sit here, I feel we need to sit together and think on how we can be the advocate of NYC to ensure, because it is there structured in government, whereby we understand it's there working and operationalizing within government entity. But now stakeholders should give a lot of input to ensure what they are also dreaming of, like what we have seen right now, is implemented to the best. And we'll be there, I promise we'll be there to give an input and ensure that the best has come from NYC. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Spark. We applaud you for what you do with the universities, and we know we've been able to work with you, and this is not ending here. Colleagues, I'd like just to let us know that in the event that you have any more, recommendations, concerns, we have an email that we will be receiving your inputs from, and this will be displayed at some point so that we are all getting it right. We are still in the validation period, and so in the event that you think of something out of this, then you are still free to give us your input.
I salute you all. My name is Mary Gathoni. I'm a lawyer by profession, but as of now, I'm representing my movement called Kenya Malaria Youth Corps, that is KEMYAC. A lot of things have been said today since morning, and I really appreciate everything that I've learned today, and I also appreciate you, NYC, for calling us here to have our voice also heard and to be able to add one or two things into the strategic plan, which was carefully elaborated. But of course, as youths, we also want to be heard more, and we also want to have at least, we can't have a perfect plan, but near to perfect through our implementation. And under my capacity today, I want to talk on the health sector. I think health is a big sector, and you can't just jump into health without knowing what is going on in the health sector. And I'm pretty sure that we can't cover all the areas of the health sector since it's very broad and wide. I was suggesting that there will be a needs assessment where you can be able to find out what kind of health issues are the youths in the country suffering, so that you focus on those areas instead of the whole, the whole wide, the health sector in general, which is very broad, and I'm pretty sure with your budget, you can't be able to cover it all. And one of those areas I would like for you to consider is malaria, since malaria is among the top 10 killing diseases in the country. We have endemic regions, and also due to the climate issues that we have been having, the shift in climate, we even had Mount Kenya region having issues with malaria because of the rainfall that undertook this rainy season that wasn't even planned for. So I think we need to do that needs assessment so that you know which kind of, what to support and what to let go and what to not generalize, in short. There are also various partners that can be able to help you in this. You can't just, even when you do the needs assessment, health sector is well coordinated, and there are partners who can be of help to you, like Malaria No More there. We as KEMIAC are supporting, as of now, we are supporting their campaign, which is Power of Everyone campaign. You can see our posters everywhere. So that's all I wanted to add on this, and thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you very much. The health part coming in very strongly. We assure you that this is going to be relooked into, and your input will be put into our strategic plan. Definitely with your help. We assure this is gonna turn out very good. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vanessa from Spread Truth Africa. Thank you so much, NYC, for having us here today. I had 3 points, actually, but one has already been mentioned on the regulation of YSOs. The first feedback I'd like to say is thank you so much for capturing the areas that are easily overlooked on much cultural practices, mental health, and spiritual wellness of our young people. So I've seen that captured in your strategic plan, and we are very happy about that. Thank you. Second one was on development and implementation research. Probably if you could just capture things on evaluation and monitoring, because how do you implement something or maybe a project and you do not follow up to say what is the impact that that project has had on our young people? Because that way it also helps to regulate YSOs out there to know NYC has tackled this. This is the challenge they faced now. Even as a YSO in that particular region, how do we go in and probably just follow up on that? And that would also happen well with the partnership that has been mentioned here, because there are so many organizations that are working on the ground in most of the counties in Kenya that are youth-led. And so if we know that NYC has done this and this is where they go to, then it's easier for other partners to come in and pick up. Also, just to commend the National Youth Council Communications, that is social media, is doing a very good job. At least we are updated every day on what is happening, what NYC is doing, we're able to see it. And just back on the evaluation part, if they could also start showing us that this happened, and this, when we went back, this is what we saw, this is the challenge we faced, so that as young people, you know, probably in our county, NYC did this, and they showed us, and this is the evaluation, this is where the problem is, so that if anybody else wants to come in, they know how and when to come in, so that we are able to deliver a wholesome service to our young people. So thank you so much for the good work you're doing. The strategic plan is amazing, according to me, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Spread Truth Africa. Thank you for the partnership we have. I think it's our last one before now I hand over this. There was a hand somewhere there. Is it that your sentiments have been echoed? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Just before that, I'd like to recognize the presence of Madame Bukimburu. Yes, she's a friend of NYC, and I wouldn't let this pass. I don't know whether you have something for us. I'm sure you've been able to read this strategic plan. Just 1 minute. I know you must be having something for you to have come in at this point.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My youth niaje. Great, at least there's some energy. My apologies for stepping in late. I had a conflicting duty roles. I'm also a director at Kimisitu Sacco, and we have an AGM on Saturday, so I had to go there as the honorary secretary just to ensure that everything is aligned. My apologies. First of all, congratulations, National Youth Council, for the strategic plan. Quite a good document. I think it was well thought out. I think most of the discussions have been laid out. I don't want to water down all the great work that you've done the whole morning. But really, I was just wondering whether I know the aspect of regulation of YSO, and I think someone was talking about it earlier. I don't know whether there's an opportunity also with the strategic plan to engage other government ministries as well, because I know the issue of coordination is a function of another ministry, or rather ministry or department or something. How is that coordination? That also needs to come out very strongly in the implementation matrix. Also because the youth factor, we are living in the realities of extrajudicial killings as well. How do we ensure that youth in those sectors can be able to organize themselves on issues of human rights? But also when you're talking about human rights, there are other new rights coming up, which I might not have seen it in the strategic plan, and especially when you're talking about decent work and the future of work. There are quite a number of discussions around the digital space, which I might not have seen that as well in the strategic plan. You might want to think about how do you advocate for digital rights as well in the space. And I know there are a lot of conversations, court cases even in Kenya, coming out strongly. So I would want, hopefully this is a workshop, it's an opportunity for us to be able to enhance the strategic plan. So I think it's an opportunity to do that. But also one of the key things that NYC has is the aspect of representation. I think the strategic plan also needs to come out very strongly on the laid out plan on that. I think strategic plan is an opportunity for us to be able to collaborate, to have startup conversations with other state ministries, state departments, and all that. So I think also there needs to also to be a laid out plan around that, so that we do not have ad hoc kind of engagement, but really a proper structured way of ensuring youth representation in the different state departments. I think that's also what I wanted to highlight. I know most of my notes have probably been discussed earlier in the meeting, but I'm happy to engage the team much later. Thank you, and back to you, Juliet.
Thank you. I told you she always has something for NYC. We are doing very well, and thank you very much for your input. And as I said earlier, we still welcome your feedback, and we will be able to be sure that we put this in the strategic plan. At this point, I'd like to invite Daktari Katamu, who is our father today, coming from our State Department. And you see, he already mentioned that he's the oldest. So by default, he takes the father role. Please give us your thoughts, and then we'll be moving on from there.
Okay, thank you very much. One, I want to appreciate the input that has gone into this strategic plan. And mine is actually brief, because most of the issues that I had have already been addressed by some of the participants. I think Dr. has addressed the issue of the vision, which I also had an issue with. There's the issue of professionalism, which I want to talk about. Now, now that some people have a problem with a problem, I also have a problem with the strategic area. I think the first one, if you can remember, on coordination, I think it was on regulation and coordination. Yes. Now, there is a proposed youth bill. And this proposed youth bill is also proposing some institutions, registrar of youth serving organizations and youth workers and all that. And my thinking here is that if we retain it the way it is, and that bill goes through, there may be a challenge in implementation, because this role is placed under a different entity. and it might be a challenge implementing it. So I want to propose that maybe we recast it in a way that you become safe, just in case it goes through. And the issue of professionalism, I think that has been raised, which I think is a good thing. Looking at the Kenya National Youth Development Policy of 2019, the way youth worker has been defined is a suitably trained person. Let me see if I can get it here. The policy that is 2019 defines a youth worker as a suitably trained and knowledgeable individual who undertakes youth work, engages and responds to young people from a place of deep contextual understanding and co-creates with young people and so on. Now, this in itself is a motivation to the proposal of the bill that I'm just talking about, because it is a very robust bill that will address some of the issues, or actually most of the issues that have been raised here. So my proposal here is that it is somehow true that the youth sector remains a bit unregulated or uncoordinated. And you also know that most of the youth issues have been mainstreamed across ministries, across sectors and all that. And to an extent that we also have policies, we also have strategies that address youth issues either directly or indirectly in different ministries. Look, if you go to the Ministry of Labor, I think they also have a policy that deals with labor migration. Labor migration largely affects the youth. I think you've heard stories about labor migration, those going outside the country. I think the State Department of Diaspora Affairs also has developing a policy on the Kenya diaspora. If you look at that policy, it has issues that affect the youth. Now, the bill that I'm just talking about, of course, is at an advanced stage of being presented in Parliament, but I'm just saying that for NYC to be safe, we need to recast that bit so that at least in a way that if it goes through, you don't find yourselves in a situation where you are unable to implement it or you are doing a role that is being performed by another institution that is being created by that. I think that is what I wanted to say, because it is also going to sort out the issue of professionalizing youth work. And you realize that, as I said earlier, that the youth are the majority. If you look at the segment of the population, they are the majority. We have people serving them, and they're actually trained. Yet the youth workers have not been treated as professionals. So that bill is actually going to address those issues. So I think that's what I wanted to raise. Otherwise, the other issues which I had have already been raised, and I don't want to repeat. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Daktari. And we have taken note of your concerns, and we are looking forward to working with you to recast that part that you're talking about. I think we are coming to the end of this, and it has been a good session. As said before, we are very glad that you are able to join us today, and we are very happy that you've been able to give us your input, and we still look forward to more input before finally this strategic plan is launched. So at this point, I'll be inviting Madam CEO just to give her closing remarks, and even, just to so that we can hear our voice for the final time before we end this. We will be going for lunch after this, then people can leave at their own pleasure. We'll still be here, so if you ever want to still interact with us, we are available. I've been your moderator. My name is Juliet Owino from the National Youth Council, in charge of research and policy. Thank you very much.
Can we clap for her as I come? And I want us to pass it. You know, I'm a trainer. I am a HR person. As much as I'm the CEO, I'm from the HR perspective. So let's tujipashie. Tuchome. I'm sure you're wondering why are you clapping for yourself. You're clapping for yourself for number one, you have been patient. You have contributed. You've been objective. You remember when we started, we requested for each and every one of you to be able to give us objective feedback on our document. When we started this journey, you remember when I was doing my opening remark, I mentioned when you open the first page and you're told you need to work on the strategic plan, and you have no first sentence. You know, first of all, it shocks you. You're wondering, what do I put? But this document, right now, as you were told by our technical officer, we have 140 pages. That 140 pages is out of the team from National Youth Council that has been able to sit down and just look at different views and put them into that documentation. So being able also to get an opportunity to come here and just present it to you, and you add value. For us, we say it's a step into the right direction. When we started the journey, the one thing the director we were working with from State Department of Planning, I don't know if he's here, the one thing he kept on telling us was, this document should be outward looking. It should not be an inward looking. Unajua kuna mtu anatengeneza document akijiangalia. Sometimes we make documents thinking, where will I get an opportunity? In that journey, we have continued being reminded, this document should outlive us. The work that it is going to achieve should outlive all of us who are in this space. Because it's a document for 5 years. Wangapi wako 30? Ni wangapi wako 30? I'm sure hamtanionesha. In the next 5 years, it means you will no longer be youth as per the definition of our constitution. Will this document have impacted the young people you are working with? And that's the reason why we appreciate the wisdom of Daktari, the two Daktaris, who are youthful and are here to give us the wisdom. I remember when Kiarie was giving a presentation, alitukumbusha, ujana ni nini? Ni moshi. Tunapita tu, si ndio? So is whatever we are doing right now, as we give these contributions, as we look at all these areas that we've been told about, let it be something that in a few years' time, in the 5 years' time, we will have achieved, and the things that we'll see that need to be changed, they will be changed at that moment. Again, we mentioned that our strategic plan is building on the previous one. See, ati tumetoka tu nowhere. There was a previous one. We saw challenges, we saw areas of improvement, and we've been able to incorporate into this one. You have come and you've given us different perspective that maybe we've not seen. Have you ever written a document and looked at, but you do not see any error until you give someone else to just review? This is just a peer review we are doing, so that you can be able to tell us, hapa, panel beat it, correct it, add this, add that, because we are all representing the same constituents. That is the youth. So mine, number one, is to appreciate the input that each and every one of us has been able to do. There are a few areas that have come up, which we will be able now again to go back, sit down as a team, and we see how we can be able also to input them. And then there are those areas that we will require more time, like a council. I know a council has been mentioned here. I know our act has been mentioned here. That is a journey on a different page, which we understand that our bill was at the parliament, but it is thrown out, it is done what? It was thrown out at the committee stage, number 3. So with that, it means now we go back to the drawing board. So I know at some point again, we will call you to give your views as the stakeholders. and tell us, how do you want this institution to be operationalized? It's already operating, but how do we get that council that everyone has really longed to have? Young people going for election and choosing their representative as members of the council. Again, there is an issue that has been mentioned about the youth bill, together with our function 4A. So it's looking at how do we align the two, so that we do not have a situation where our strategy is talking about regulating, then we have a youth bill that creates another institution. So it's good that we've been able to get that. And noting that this is from our State Department, I believe we will be able to, again, just have a sit down as ourselves from the team of NYC, the team from Policy Department of our State Department, to see how we align and have a document that is helping our institution and our youth at large. As I come to my conclusion, there's something that has been mentioned here. Hii document imekuja Nairobi. Inahitaji kwenda wapi? Mashinani. I'm sure you've noted our budget by the way. Your budget, si ati tumejilimit. It's the reality of how much money we are given by Treasury. So hiyo ni pesa yenye National Youth Council. Hiyo 98 million, si ati tumejilimit ati tukakuwa na vision kidogo. It is because that's the amount of money that has been allocated by Treasury. So yes, we have continued and we will continue lobbying to get more funding to be able to represent the 75% of this country. But apart from that, here they are partners, our esteemed stakeholders, that you can be able to carry this vision with us and tell us, I would want to organize an event, Mashinani Part A, kwenye we come as technical officers, together with you, we go there. Kama tunaenda Baringo, tuende Baringo, kwa vijana wa Baringo. So this is where I'm calling on all of you partners. You have footprints in different sections that you can be able to work together and go and do a presentation of this document to be part of the validation. Apart from that, we will explore the virtual way, where, if possible, we just have a virtual engagement with our young people. And finally, through our State Department, we have youth officers that are in each county. So again, that is also another way we explore to get the views of our youth at the grassroots. So Sunday, hao vijana wa Westland huko, hapo, hata hao, utuambie. Kama ni kuwapanga, si tukuje tufanya nini? Tuoneshe hii document, ndio wapeana view yao. Si ndio? Na tuliambiwa vijana ni kujituma. Kila time tukienda mahali wanaulizanga, lunch iko wapi? With a budget of 98 million, unaona nikiweza kupeana lunch. Si ndio? So it's good to see the reality of things. So where we can, and where you partners, you can come in, we will bring all our technical officers to be able to take us through this document. So again, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your input. It is not the end of this conversation. We will keep on receiving input from email. There's that email, and I'm hoping this is the moment it needs to be displayed so that you can be able to take our email. Apart from that, our institution, you've been able to engage with that. As in mnatujuanga sisi wote. So please, reach out to Chebet, who is our technical officer. She can be able also to just give feedback in case you are able to send your input over there. So kindly just showcase the email that we will be using to receive the feedback. But as they do that, I want you to look at the book, and I think Daktari Eliud actually challenged me. If you pick at this book, just look at the vision, sorry. As we are doing housekeeping, look at the vision, a skilled and ethical society. You know, it's good to benchmark. So to share benchmark, Daktari ametuambia by the hapa panel beat. Alafu kuna hii example mzuri sana. The one thing Daktari told me when we were with him, ukiamsha usiku, can you be able to say your mission? hata mimi nikajichallenge. I remembered, to be honest, it's a mouthful. So, team, I believe we now have been able to get a good feedback on the vision that we might be able to work on to ensure that in the middle of the night, when you're called and asked, so what is the vision of National Youth Council? Chebet, what's the vision? You see, and we've been interacting with this document. So again, thank you for that feedback. And I believe the team is ready now. I'm trying to buy time. So any comment as I know we have closed on the comments. Maybe we can stand and stretch. We've been sitting a lot. So we can call Senator Moni Heavens. Juliet, come and make us kuja. Inaitangwa coconut ama inaitangwa nini? Hiyo. Excellent. The email is there. As you look at it, you can make us spell coconut, then we go eat food.
All right, so we need to create space for the food that we are about to take. So we all know C-O-C-O-N-U-T. So the first C will be on my left. The other C will come on my right. But the O is this. N is that. Yeah? And U. Right? So we'll give it a trial, and then we can do it better in the second time. So the first C, can we all go? C, O, C, O, N, U, and then T. Is that okay? Yeah, so haraka, so that your space iji-create. You need 1 acre to do that. You can move. You can just move. Yeah, so we'll be spelling coconut haraka, and then we'll now be able to go for our lunch. So in 1, 2, 3. C, O, C, O, N, U, T. Does that work? Yeah, so do you want to do it just one more time? Then we'll all be going. When you are doing exercise, tafadhali, now mwende mfanye exercise. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We will be heading out for our lunch. Our team is outside there. They will be able to guide us where our lunch is served. Asanteni sana. Oh, naambiwa tunafaa tuombe ya chakula. All right, so we will pick meal cards as we get out before our lunch. So maybe we can just pray for the meal, and then we will be free to move. So let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we are grateful this afternoon. Indeed, Lord, you've been with us since the start of this. And Lord, we are grateful that we are coming to an end, oh God. And so, Father, even as we go out even to have a meal together, oh God, we pray that this meal will nourish our bodies, and that, Father, those who do not have will be able to have, my Father, in the next meals, my God, for the glory and honor of your name. So be with us as we eat and share this meal together, for it is in Jesus' name I pray and believe. Amen.